Hello everyone, and thank you for coming back. It's been a while since I've updated the progress on my 510. Quite a few things have been done, and so I'm going to go over those things with you and show you where I'm at this point. It's been a lot of very tedious work. In my opinion, not worth filming because it's kind of boring. So I'm just going to give you a sort of a recap on where we're at this point. On the last video, we sandblasted the entirety of the bottom of the car, including the floor inside the car as well. I'm very pleased with the results after that process. Shortly after that, pretty much the next day, not the next day, that same afternoon, I went through the process of starting to get all the sand out of the car. So that was not fun. That was 8 hours or close to 7 to 8 hours, nothing but vacuuming sand out of every crevice on the bottom of the car and the inside of the car. And even though I tried to cover, pockets where I thought the sand would accumulate, it still got in there. And until today, every time I turn the car on the rotisserie, I still get a little bit of sand out. So I'll have to, go in there and vacuum it out and whatnot. But still some sand there. And as you can see, you probably can't see it, but right here, there's still some remnants of the sand that has been coming out after the car was epoxied. So after the car was sandblasted, I went through the whole bottom of the car with a Scotch pad and the red Scotch pad, this type right here. Sorry about that. Went over with one of these all over the car, well, more than one of these. That was so that I could get in, roughen up the surface a little bit and get rid of whatever contaminants were there. Then I use Prep-All to clean the whole bottom of the car. That was quite a bit of work as well. And then after that, I went ahead and sprayed it with an epoxy primer. So epoxy primers, there's a million out there, and if you start going down that rabbit hole, you'll never decide which one to use. I went with Eastwood. The Eastwood one, I figured, these people have been in business a long time. The price was, pretty good. And if they were selling crap, they would not be in business, so long. I'm not sure whether this is the best epoxy primer or not, but it'll do. It's good enough for my 510. And let me tell you, I've been surprised. I hit my 510 bottom of the, a couple of times while I was trying to mock up the rear suspension. And it never even put a scratch on that epoxy primer. So I'm kind of pleased that it's actually pretty tough, actually very tough. So after I epoxy primered the whole car, then I needed to decide what to do to be able to accommodate my tires. I'm going with 16 by 7 wheels with two, what are they? 215 40 16s, I think it is. I'm not 100% sure on those numbers, but the tire is 8 inches wide, and the wheel has a 22 millimeter offset. So in order for me to accommodate that tire in the back of the car, I had to go with that combination. Otherwise, I would have to flare the car and whatnot, and that's exactly what I don't want. So in order to accommodate those tires and not have any kind of rubbing issues in the future, I thought it would be a really good idea to do this now instead of trying to do this after the car is painted, right? So I went ahead and modified the fenders, or the inside of the fenders. There's a little step right there that becomes a little bit intrusive when the tire is going up and down. And although when the tire gets to that little step that's inside the inner fender, it's already starting to camber, out because of the independent suspension. But I still wanted to accommodate the tire with more clearance, so that I can not worry about the future, whether I may not be able to find the same tire or something like that, or decide to go with a different tire setup or wheel setup. So I made plenty of room for that tire to be able to accommodate it inside the fender without any rubbing. It's sort of a necessary evil. I felt like after I went through all the trouble of replacing the quarter panels and the inner fenders and all that stuff, because I did not want to flare my car. It took me a while to come to build up the nerve to actually start cutting in there and folding the lip on the fender, and all that stuff on the quarter panel. So it was a necessary evil. I had to do it. I wish I didn't, but there was no way to accommodate that kind of a tire that is 8 inches wide, up there, without doing that. So let me show you what I did. A lot of people have talked about how to do this. I went with what I thought was more to my skill level, I guess, and where I felt the most comfortable how to do it. I did use a fender roller to be able to roll the fender in as much as I did. That is very time consuming. I didn't film any of that because it'll bore you to death. It's just a back and forth with very little increments on how you actually get that lip to fold in without actually pushing the quarter panel out. The other thing was that, once I fold that lip in there, it would be very difficult for me to paint in there or protect that surface, right, from the debris and everything else that gets accumulated in there. So what I ended up doing is inside that fender lip, before I folded anything, I went ahead and sanded down everything to bare metal. Then I put some POR 15 in it, and then I went ahead and waited about a week for that to cure really good. Came back and sanded all the shiny out of the POR 15, and then I went and put a really good primer in there as well. And then once I wrap the liner of the bottom of the car, I'll make sure that I'll shoot some of that in there as well, so that that area there is as protected from corrosion as much as I can. So let me take you closer here just to show you what I did. So let me come around the camera to do that for you guys. So right in here, and let me move the camera a little bit. There. I'm not sure if you can actually see it, but right in there is where that lip is. And that lip, what I did is I did a little surgery on that little lip. I went ahead and sliced it, along the way from here all the way up to here. Then I pie cut this area here. I did a little cut in the center and another pie cut over here. Then I folded the lip, and once I was able to fold the lip, I stitched it with, welding it, kind of stitched it. And then over here on the corners, I did the same things, just stitched up that little pie cut I did. The fender was rolled from here all the way up to there, and that will actually accommodate the tire. I've tested the tires with the rotor hats from the disc brakes as well, so that I make sure that the tire is as out as possible, or basically as out as it's going to be. to make sure that I do not miss that, right? Because I want to make sure that with everything installed, it's still going to clear. And it does, and it clears really well. It clears perfectly. I have probably a half an inch or more, no, not more, maybe a little less than half an inch, I'm sorry, that will actually be able to accommodate that tire. So at the other side, which I haven't finished yet, is where you can see where some of the POR 15 is still showing there. I need to finish that area there before, hold on, I'm not showing you the right place. Let me get in there. There it is. So that's part of the POR 15 that I still need to sand, and I need to put a nice coat of primer to be able to finish that off, and then I will be done. Like they say, that will be the last that I need to do in the bottom of the car. So what else? After the actual sandblasting process, which I'm glad I did. Lord, am I glad I did that. I would have never discovered any of this when I did it. So down here, and I'm going to get in here to see if I can point it out to you. You see this black stuff right here? That's actually panel bond. Why panel bond there? Well, that's because I decided that instead of me trying to spot weld little tiny pieces or holes, actually, where there were tiny little holes that I discovered after the process of the sandblasting. There were tiny holes in this area here, almost about the size of a pin, the head of a pin. There were some here, and then there were some here. But they were so small that and the metal was still pretty good around it. It was pretty solid. I couldn't punch it with anything. It was basically really solid. I even stuck a punch inside those little pinholes to see if I could make them bigger, but they wouldn't. They were pretty solid. I went ahead and actually used some panel bond here instead of me trying to spot weld every single one of those little holes, because there was, I don't know, I lost count, but there was good maybe 10 little pinholes here. And then there were some over here in the back where I showed you before. And that was the easiest way for me to repair that. I know panel bond is pretty strong. I'm going to sand that down once I get ready to do the Raptor-liner. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this down again everywhere I use this panel bond stuff, and I'm going to epoxy primer on top of that. Then I'm going to sand it again. I think it's kind of an overkill, probably not really necessary, but I'll go ahead and do it just for my peace of mind and get everything ready to do the Raptor-liner. The Raptor-liner is going to stop right here in this area. From here on backwards is going to be Raptor-liner. Also the bottom of my frame right here is going to be Raptor-liner, and inside the fenders, front and rear, also going to be Raptor-liner. Have not decided if I want to tint the Raptor-liner the same color of the car, or if I want to just do it black, or like I think they have like a dark gray, like a charcoal gray or something like that. Haven't decided that. I would love it if I could just do it the same color of the car, because I like when I've seen people restore their cars, and I like when they do that. The bottom of the car is the same color as the car. Kind of looks like one of those models you put together when you were a little kid. But it also opens up a whole new can of worms, me trying to keep that clean, because I'm going to drive this car. It's not going to be a trailer princess. I want to drive the wheels off it. So I intend to drive it as often as possible, and I think if I do that, then I become a slave of the bottom of the car, because that's just the way I am. I like things pretty clean all the time, and if I see dirt underneath the car that is visible on the color of the car underneath, I'm going to be up there or down there. I'm trying to clean that. One step before the Raptoliner that I'm actually omitting right now is going to be the process of seam sealing the bottom of the car. There's two theories about seam sealing. There's people that like to do the seam seal everywhere, and then there's people that like to do seam sealer only in certain areas and allow the car to, if it gets wet, for the water to be able to come out or air to get in and dry it out. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go with that. Maybe I'll strategically seal seam the car underneath, and then seal seam the whole interior of the car, because I did remove all the old seam sealer that was inside the car. Before it got sandblasted, I did that just to make sure there was no rust underneath any of that. I went ahead and made some room here now for the transmission. With the SR20 transmission, you have to make a little bit of more room there, and I did that after the car got sandblasted. That way I could epoxy primer that as well. And so I'm getting close to the Raptoliner step. And once I get to the Raptoliner step, I think, with the exception of finishing up the front of the car, I will be all set and ready to go to paint. I still need to accommodate the intercooler that I'm going to be using in the front of the car. I don't want to hang that intercooler, below the bumper. Looks like a rabbit with a buck tooth sticking out. Don't like that look. I prefer to preserve the look of the 510 as much as I can. So I got an intercooler that is not as big as a full-on radiator size intercooler. I live in Florida, and you can probably hear the sound of my air conditioning here. I'm cheating today because it is freaking hot as hell down here. So because I live in Florida, the car is going to have air conditioning. So I am going to have a intercooler, AC condenser, and a radiator. And I still have to have room for the fan. So that's going to be, a little bit of work to be able to accommodate all that in the front. But I've done my preliminary work there, and it looks like it's going to fit okay. As far as trying to keep the engine compartment clean with that air conditioning system, I think I'm starting to do some research to use a electric AC compressor instead of trying to hang that compressor onto the SR20 with all the piping of the turbo unit on the left side of the car. So I think I may be able to mount that AC compressor where the original battery mounted for 510 in the front. That's right now what I'm thinking. I'm going to put that electric air AC compressor. Have to upgrade the alternator, of course. And some people that I've been reading about, people that have done this before. Some people don't have any issues with just running a very powerful alternator. Some people prefer to have an additional battery on the car. Not sure exactly if I follow along about that. If anybody that is watching this video knows why it would be a good thing to have a secondary battery on the car just for the AC compressor, please let me know, because as far as I know, that battery, it has to be charged also through the alternator. So I'm not sure why they're running two batteries unless they are thinking that they can run the air conditioning on the car before they start the car, or if the car's been sitting out in the sun for a long time and they want to turn on the AC before they get to the car. I have no idea. I have no idea what the second battery purpose is. All I know is that it's more weight that I got to put in the car. So if anybody has any insight with regards to that AC compressor, electric AC compressor, and you've done that, whether it's on a 510 or something else, please chime in. I would love to hear your suggestions with regards to that. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming back to watch one of my videos. And I will try to do more videos and update you more often. It's been a little crazy lately, so I haven't been able to do that. I will for sure do a live, not a live, but I will record the video where I actually go, excuse me, to apply the Raptor liner on the car. Although a lot of people have done it before, I like to videotape, and for my own purpose, I would like to videotape that as well, as it is a process that is going to definitely change the look of the bottom of the car. So it will be interesting to see how it turns out, once I'm done. My next step is going to be to remove that suspension, since obviously it's not going to be needed anymore. Everything that I needed to know about that rear suspension has been figured out. And so that's coming off, and then I'll start getting it ready for their Raptor liner. Once again, guys, thank you very much for coming to see my videos. I appreciate you tuning in. Anything that you think I could have done better, I love to learn. Anything that you suggest that I do prior to doing the Raptor liner, I would like to hear from you on the comments. So once again, thank you very much. And I hope you guys come back to see me again. And thank you for watching my video. Goodbye.